Stage 6 saw the Absa Cape Epic start and finish in the winelands town of Stellenbosch. Surrounded by over 500 kilometers of marked mountain bike routes, including around 300 kilometers of single track, it is mountain bikers' paradise. Founded in 1679, the town is South Africa's second oldest. Its oak tree-lined streets, along which students and international tourists stroll, are dotted with cafes and restaurants. Alongside the university and mountain bike trails, the town's major attraction is, of course, the world-class wine estates which surround Stellenbosch. The day before, the race had traversed the mountains and plains from Wilier-Pirelli to Stellenbosch. Stage 5 had started with a ferocious climb up Rusty Gate. This split the CM.com women's field virtually from the off. Initially, BMC MTB Racing and Private Client Holdings had been able to follow the pace set by NinetyOne-songo-Specialized and Faces Roller. But soon they too dropped off. Along with Simtech ZA, BMC MTB and Private Client Holdings were engaged in team time trials through the 115-kilometer course rather than contesting the race, with Sophia Gomez-Verfan, Hayley Batten, Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss. The leading quartet powered their way up and over Franschhoek Pass, through the Berg River Dam trails and into the Ludus Magnus pump track. Upon crossing into Boschendal, only Marie Rabi and Hayley Preen remained anywhere near NinetyOne-songo-Specialized and Faces Roller. Despite the steep gradients of the grind-up Botmaskop, no significant gap could be forged by either team, and only on the final heartbreak hill kicker did Gomez-Villafan and Batten establish a gap over Lill and Strauss. The orange jersey wearer's victory margin was close but comfortable. Faces Roller was second and Private Client Holdings third.
It was good. It played out well. We were hoping over Rusty Gate. We wanted to try and make it hard, and we were hoping that one team would come with us, and that's exactly what happened. So now there was a race on the whole day, which was awesome. It was a long day out, but we worked well together with Specialized because we both had a common interest to make some time. And then, here at the end, we had a little sprint up this last hill here, and my legs were just like, a long day, but really happy with the time we made.
Their second stage win of the 2022 Absa Cape Epic and BMC MTB Racing's travails ensured that NinetyOne-songo-Specialized extended their general classification advantage to 15 minutes and 49 seconds. Faces Roller started the penultimate day in second with Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and Robin de Groot nearly 27 minutes back. The men's race had again been filled with drama on stage 5. The Speed Company Racing team were eager to attack, but the main protagonists summited Rusty Gate together. On the plains across the Theewaterskloof flatlands, Georg Egger and Lucas Baum launched a long-range raid. Unfortunately, the men who had started the stage in second on the general classification missed a route marker, turning right when they should have continued straight ahead. This cost them around 4 minutes on the trails and a furious chase back to the yellow jersey group. A large group then went over the Franschhoek Pass together and dropped into the Cape Winelands for a single-track-filled finale to the race. But first there was a short section of asphalt to complete, and that is where Umbuko Type Dev attacked. Marco Hubert and Peter de Toy timed their move to perfection and hit the downward single tracks with a slight lead. Over the final 30 kilometers, they drove on to extend their advantage, riding themselves into 6th on the general classification, and more importantly to their and their team's maiden Absa Cape Epic stage victory. Canyon Northwave and Toyota 91 Specialized followed them across the line, while Speed Company Racing conceded time.
Yesterday I had like 6 punctures, so it just shows you you should never give up and just keep believing in yourself. And somehow it worked out for us today, and I guess when it's your time to go, you must just go.
With 2 stages to race, Andreas Seerwald and Martin Stosek lead Matt Beers and Chris Blevins by 6 minutes and 54 seconds. Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were third at 7 minutes and 2 seconds behind the race leaders Canyon Northwave. The penultimate stage of the 2022 Absa Cape Epic represented the final opportunity to make significant time gains. Featuring 2,700 meters of climbing in just 76 kilometers, it was a typically brutal Absa Cape Epic day. But it wasn't all suffering and climbing, however. Having conquered Botmaskop, the teams descended into the Banhoek Valley for some single-track fun. They then, however, had to climb back out through Tokara on the Helshoekte summit and along a high mountain ridgeline into Jonkershoek. There, more thrilling trails awaited before a sprint down the valley and a final single-track climb led the riders home to Stellenbosch for the final night in the race village. The Kutsenberg race village was abuzz on the morning of stage 6. The elite men were warming up for a high-paced start, featuring a steep climb within the first couple of kilometers. The leaders, though, were approaching the day like any other.
It's still the same. I mean, we go for this stage like for the others we did till now. And yeah, the finish is getting closer now, but yeah, we know this stage a bit. It's the only stage we know a bit, so it's good for us, I would say. And we'll try to stay in front and control the race from the front. And I think it's gonna be a good day.
Yeah, today we want to get the time back. We lost yesterday. Unfortunately, yesterday we had the chance to get in the yellow jersey. We were on a good pace, already a minute ahead. Unfortunately, we took a wrong turn. Maybe there were no signs, or the lead's motorbike took a wrong turn and we've just followed. After that, we had to chase 2 minutes down. So when we came back to the group, everyone was surprised that we came from behind. They thought we were in the front, and I think yesterday we had a good chance on getting to the yellow. Now our goal is to make up the time we lost yesterday. We not give up fighting. It's still 2 days to go, and I think 7 minutes is still possible.
If it was going to be possible for Lucas Baum and Georg Egger to make up 7 minutes, they would need to be exceptionally aggressive right from the off. Fortunately for them, there were a number of teams in the race who had yet to win a stage. The Speed Company racing squad would thus have companions for any long-range attack. Teams like Scott SRAM, Wilier-Pirelli, Buff Megamo and the Bulls all had points to prove, and could thus be useful to general classification time chasers. The CM.com women's field were starting to turn their thoughts to maintaining what they had, rather than pushing on to gain places on the overall standings.
Yeah, obviously you start to want to consolidate GC and things like that, and yeah, just after yesterday, I think also Pauline, but for me definitely I didn't think I would be at the start today, so just happy that we're able to continue and keep at it, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yesterday was a pretty long day, but we actually had a good, positive race. It was really cool to get away with the Specialized ladies and have a proper race till the end, so that was really fun. So we're taking the motivation from yesterday, even though I had a little bit of a leg seize moment in the last 500 meters or so, but we're taking the motivation that we can stay with them and hopefully stick it to them today.
Taking the fight to NinetyOne-songo-Specialized would require a mammoth effort from Candice Lill and her Faces roller teammate Mariska Strauss. They did, however, have an advantage in that they know the Stellenbosch trails like the back of their hands. Unfortunately for them, Sophia Gomez-Verfan and Hayley Batten spent a week before the race pre-riding the Bunhook and Jonkershoek trails. Thus, the single tracks of Stage 6 were the only trails on the entire race, barring those used for the prologue in Lawrenceford, that the women in orange knew too. Dropping them would therefore be exceptionally difficult to do. The brutal ascent of Botmuskorp provided the terrain to split the elite men's field within the first 5 kilometers of the stage. In the chaos of the climb, teammates became separated, and many a rider could be seen casting glances over their shoulders in search of their partners. One such rider was Martin Storsek. His Canyon Northwave teammate Andreas Seewald was struggling to keep up. The German had cracked a rib early in the race and was having difficulty breathing deeply on the climb. While Canyon Northwave fought to stay in contact, Wilier-Pirelli slipped off the front. Fabian Ravensteiner and Wout Alleman used the flowing Fynbos descent of Botmuskorp and into the Bunhook Valley as a launch pad. Behind, Storsek was attempting to control the pace, but Georg Egger forced his way by. With Storsek blocking behind, Nino Schurter and Chris Blevins put on a skilled showcase on the Bunhook berms. Before Wilier-Pirelli 1 and 2 escaped again through Old Bethlehem with Toyota 91 Specialized and Speed Company Racing. On the climb back out of the Bunhook Valley, the group thinned under pressure applied by Matt Beers and Chris Blevins. Discussions were taking place behind the men in second overall though, and plans were being hatched for stinging attacks. Meanwhile, Daniel Gesmeyer and Cameron Orr battled to remain within touching distance of their Wilier-Pirelli teammates. Further back, Canyon Northwave were fighting for their yellow jerseys. Their situation was dire, but not yet entirely out of control. But that was at risk of changing as the group ahead upped their tempo on the Idas Valley community trails. Speed Company Racing and Wilier-Pirelli had the bit between their teeth. While forcing the pace, they were not only putting Seevold and Stosek in trouble down the road, but also dropping Matt Beers and Chris Blevins. By prior arrangement or by the sheer power of their acceleration, the Wilier-Pirelli team managed to distance Speed Company Racing too. On the climb past the Herstein Castle and the slopes of Jonkershoek Valley, Fabian Rabensteiner and Wout Alleman extended their initial advantage. With a monumental effort, the Italian and Belgian marathon champions built a lead which put them out of sight of the chasing Georg Egger and Lucas Baum. Having recovered from being distanced earlier, Gasmeyer and Orr had passed Beers and Blevins. They were third on the trails heading into Jonkershoek. Though the first climb of the day off the Kutsenberg fields is not a major one, it has local infamy as Heartbreak Hill. And its name proved up for Ariane Luthi, who found herself fighting to remain in contact with the top CM.com women's teams within the first kilometre. If it were not for Amy Wakefield's helping hand, it would have been a much longer day for the ill Swiss rider. As the gradients ramped up on the Botmaskop ascent, the group thinned from 6 to 5 to 4 teams, which was exactly what Candice Lill, Mariska Strauss and the NinetyOne-songo-Specialized team wanted. Unable to follow, Luthi had to rely on Wakefield to steward her through the stage. At the sharp end, the top two teams were already in a class of their own. There was no place to hide on the strenuous Botmaskop ascent, and as such the strongest naturally emerged. And over the summit, the ability to safely and quickly ride the single track down into the Bannock Valley proved as essential. The smooth surface played into the hands of Private Client Holdings. They were climbing more efficiently than BMC MTB Racing. Carrying momentum was as important once the trails began to undulate, and fortunately Luthi was still able to do that. Though her technical proficiency and that of the rest of the riders in the CM.com women's field was no match for Hayley Battens. The NinetyOne-songo-Specialized rider is in a league of her own when it comes to bike handling skills. The only woman who could challenge Battens' Trail Queen title, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, was nursing herself and her partner through the early part of the stage. She and de Groot did, however, have enough energy in their tanks to force their way past Marie Rabi on a single-track descent. But without open trail ahead of them, they could not challenge Battens' pace. The American had a clear run at the Old Bethlehem single tracks, floating and flowing with ease and grace down the trail. Her enjoyment of the experience was clear to see and probably added to her speed. Despite having the best possible wheel to follow, the Faces Roller team and Sofia Gomez-Villafan were no match for Battens' speed. But they knew she would have to come back to them once they reached the valley floor, which is exactly what happened. The climb that followed gave the South Africans a chance to force the women in orange onto the back foot. The NinetyOne-songo-Specialized team appeared as comfortable or as good at maintaining their poker faces as Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss. Having conquered half the stage, the top CM.com women's teams refueled for the brutal climbs and stunning single tracks of Jonkershoek. In the Jonkershoek trails, the Wilier-Pirelli team continued to extend their advantage. Fabian Rabenstein and Wout Alleman flew down the Armageddon Trail, taking on the iconic rock wall as they charged towards the valley floor. Even in the midst of the high-paced race, they had time to have fun. Speed Company Racing were more cautious in their approach, concentrating on being fast and safe rather than having fun. Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were only focused on gaining time to win yellow. With 20 kilometres left to race in the stage, Wilier-Pirelli's second team, Daniel Gesmeyer and Cameron Orr, were in third on the trail, ahead of the Buff Megama and Canyon Northwave teams. Matt Beers and Chris Blevins had slipped to sixth on the trails and were losing their second place overall. This was of no concern to Rabenstein and Alleman. Their goal was simply to win the stage. Knowing Speed Company Racing were flying behind them, they could not afford a moment of relaxation until the finish line was in sight. Summiting Heartbreak Hill, Ravensteiner allowed himself a quick celebration with a young fan. Then it was onward to victory, to raise their Wilier bikes above their heads. The win is their first at the Absa Cape Epic on their new steeds. Their elation was palpable and would soon be shared with their teammates. First though, the Speed Company Racing duo drove for the line, sprinting for every valuable second. As happy for their teammates as they were for their own third place finish after a difficult race, Gesmeyer and all completed the excellent day for Wilier-Pirelli. With 4 riders on the Stage 6 podium, the day could not have gone much better for the Italian squad. 3 hours, 16 minutes and 4 seconds was all it took for Fabian Ravenstein and Wout Alleman to complete their stage victory. Georg Egger and Lucas Baum were 1 minute and 15 seconds slower across the 76-kilometer route, but 4 minutes and 15 seconds faster than Andreas Servold and Martin Storsek. That meant Canyon Northwave's general classification advantage shrunk to 2 minutes and 45 seconds, their smallest buffer since they pulled on the leaders' jerseys after stage 1. Toyota 91-Specialized dropped to third and head into the final day 7 minutes and 40 seconds behind the men in yellow.
The beginning was really bad for us. We had was I that had some bad days, so it was not what we expected. But then when we came here in Stellenbosch, we knew that the trails were more technical and we knew that we could do a good result, so we focused on these last stages. So finally I had a good day, and then also there is still one more day to come, so we try again tomorrow.
Super important. I mean, we had 2 bad days now, or not too much luck. 2 days ago we were away and got catched again, and yesterday we attacked, were 2 minutes away and then got a wrong turn, went down a hill, had to get up again and then catch them again, and after that it was not possible to get away anymore. They were so focused on not letting us go. So today was super important. We won the GC, and let's hope for a few minutes now.
Having ascended out of the Banhoek Valley, the CM.com women's race leaders and their counterparts in the Absa African jerseys were heading towards Jonkershoek. Hayley Batten had to give her partner Sophia Gomez-Villafan a helping hand to conquer the steepest pitches of the climb. On the contour roads which followed, the Argentine could recover in the wheels while Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss set the pace. On the single tracks in Jonkershoek, Lill led to control the pace. This ensured that the group remained together, as the South African was protecting Strauss and allowing her to recover. At the back of the group, Batten still found time and space to have some fun. Having come to cheer on their team, the Songo.info children were happy to provide encouragement to Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and Robin de Groot too. The BMC MTB racing team were in third on the trails. Further back, Marie Rabi and Hayley Preen were in fourth. Having forced their way ahead on the dual-track climb to the Fire Hut single-track descent, the NinetyOne-songo-Specialized team could use Batten's superior skills to establish the embryo of an advantage over the Facers roller team. The gap never ballooned though. Lill and Strauss managed to keep the leaders in their sights, remaining agonizingly close throughout the brand new Yonkers Drift single-track climb back towards the Stellenbosch race village. They just lacked the burst of speed to reel in Gomez-Villafan and Batten. Behind de Groot was fighting away to the finish. She and Ferrand-Prévot were at no risk of losing their third place on the trails, but simply finishing as fast as possible was motivation enough. With a helping hand from Batten, Gomez-Villafan led the NinetyOne-songo-Specialized team over Heartbreak Hill and down towards the finish line. The women in orange rounded the final bend to win their third stage of the 2022 Absa Cape Epic. Lill and Strauss finished in second, repeating their Stage 5 result, further cementing their second position on the CM.com Women's General Classification. They were joined on the podium by the BMC MTB racing team of Ferrand-Prévot and de Groot. It took Sophia Gomez-Villafan and Hayley Batten 4 hours, 1 minute and 4 seconds to complete the 76-kilometer stage, 39 seconds less than it took Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and Robin de Groot were 11 minutes down on the stage winners. Heading into the final day, NinetyOne-songo-Specialized hold a 16-minute and 29-second advantage over Facers roller. The Absa African jersey leaders are 22 minutes ahead of third place BMC MTB Racing. Private Client Holdings and Simtech ZA switch places, with the South Africans moving up into fourth.
Really hard. So you kind of had to work for that single track, but once you got there, it was very rewarding. And yeah, I think the very first one that was a float trail, Haley had ridden it, and she was been looking forward to that trail all week long. So she got a massive gap on us. So once I was super excited that she could actually have some fun out there today. And yeah, another stage done, and only 60K between us and Val de Vie.
With the various category overall standings crystallising in the latter phases of the race, the faces in the leaders' jerseys were becoming familiar. From Hlala-Lisani Ndebele and Tlotlo Selala to Carl Platt, Christoph Sauser, Manny Heymans, Genevieve Weber, Abra Azevedo and Bart Brenchens. Stage 6 provided the terrain in which general classification upsets could happen. But the class of the men and the women in the leaders' jerseys was such that the most technically challenging day in the race played into their hands even more. The steep climbs allowed them to open gaps to their rivals, while the spectacular single-track descents provided them with the opportunity to showcase their skills. In the mixed and grandmasters categories, the leaders did not win the penultimate stage, but they conceded minimal time. In the NTT Masters and the Xara jersey races, the leaders added to their general classification advantages. It's perhaps unsurprising that two of the most competitive men in the history of the Absa Cape Epic continue to rack up stage wins now that they are racing outside of the elite men's race. Between them, Platt and Sauser had won 40 stages. After the 2022 race, their total, including NTT Masters stage wins, will top the half-century mark. With one day to go, the category titles are all but wrapped up, barring disaster for the various leaders. Carl Platt and Christoph Sauser hold a 44-minute advantage in the NTT Masters. In the Grandmasters, Bart Brenchens and Abra Azevedo's buffer is an hour bigger than the Songo 91 Epic Legends. While Manny Heymans and Genevieve Weber have an hour and 8-minute lead in the mixed race. In the Xara jersey competition, Hlala-Lisani Ndebele and Tlotlo Selala are an hour and 19 minutes ahead of Nhlanhla Mthembu and Luvuyo Siyasi. William Majapolo and Kenneth Chukuru hold the final podium place. The final day of the 2022 Absa Cape Epic is the trail to Val de Vie. It takes in 68 kilometers with 2,000 meters of climbing. It is anything but a free ride to the grand finale. Beginning with climbs through Rustenburg and Coin Rock wine estates, the fun follows in Marathi. The Simonsberg single tracks will make it difficult to chase down any early breaks. A final climb on the northern slopes of the mountain provide a view across the Berg River Valley to Val de Vie and the finish line. Knowing where to go, the teams will then loop towards the polo fields, crossing more fabled wine farms and the Berg River as they do. In the last 5 kilometers, the fast and flat Val de Vie single tracks offer a chance to reel in a break as they run out of steam, because once their wheels hit the grass of the polo fields, the cheers of the gathered mountain biking fans will carry them home.